Thank you, Travis. Good evening and welcome to tonight's regional news. The European Commission is set to include Barbados, Jamaica, the Bahamas, and 9 other countries to its list of states that pose a financial risk to the bloc because of anti-money laundering and terrorism financing shortfalls, a draft document shows. The document, published on Thursday, also includes Panama, Botswana, Mauritius, Cambodia, Ghana, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nicaragua, and Zimbabwe to the EU listing. Countries on the list pose significant threats to the financial system of the Union, the draft document, which is still subject to changes, says. Under EU laws, banks and other financial and tax firms are obliged to scrutinize more closely their clients who have dealings with countries on the list. And now for news from the Bahamas. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis has accepted the resignation of Minister of Health Dr. Dwayne Sands. In a statement, the Prime Minister thanked Sands for his service to the Bahamas, including during the novel coronavirus pandemic. The resignation comes after a revelation last week that 6 American permanent residents were allowed to disembark a plane along with a donation of COVID-19 test kits and swabs amidst the country's border closure. Sands initially told reporters that only 2 people disembarked the plane, advising during a press conference that he was not sure whether there were more. However, during a national address on Sunday, Minnis confirmed an additional 4 people had been allowed to disembark and characterized the entry as a breach of protocol. Sands posted a resignation letter to his Facebook page. He said, I quote, "I accept responsibility for the breach of protocol. I acknowledge that I acted outside of the scope of my authority in this matter." End of quote. And now for news from Trinidad and Tobago. Caribbean Airlines has begun to put measures in place for the reopening of Trinidad and Tobago's borders, which have been closed since March 22 as a preventative measure implemented by the government to contain the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. The airline revealed that it already has social distancing protocols in place for domestic flights that will continue when borders reopen to international flights. In a statement on Tuesday, the airline said social distancing on flights will be practiced at check-in, on board, and other areas once international service resumes. The statement said the Caribbean Airlines cabins are currently being cleaned with chemicals that meet the requirements of the World Health Organization, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and the Center for Disease Control, as being effective against the COVID-19 virus. Another statement issued by the airline said its Barbados ticket office will reopen on May 6. And finally, in tonight's regional news, the seizure of 20 ventilators destined for Barbados appears to have thrust the Mia Mottley administration into a growing global battle for critical supplies to fight the outbreak of COVID-19. But Minister of Health and Wellness Lieutenant Jeffrey Bosick reassured that there is no shortage of the critical supplies, dismissing such suggestions as absurd. During a press conference, Bosick revealed that the ventilators donated to the Barbados government as an act of philanthropy were barred from exportation. He said, "But I remind you that the ventilators are one of the most in-demand items in the world today, and Barbados is merely wrestling with the other 203 countries and territories around the world, seeking to secure as many of these pieces of equipment as possible." End of quote. While initially indicating that they were part of the $1.4 million in assistance pledged by Barbados-born international pop star Rihanna, he later corrected this and added that 5 of the ventilators sent by Rihanna would soon reach the country. The health minister did not disclose the U.S. city or state where the seizure took place, but reports of such seizures made news as recently as Friday in New York, where Governor Andrew Cuomo vowed to seize unused ventilators from private entities through an executive order in the hard-hit city. It is still unclear how the Barbadian authorities will respond, but at least for now, the 48 ventilators on the island that are currently at the government's disposal appear to be more than enough, with only 3 of the country's 56 COVID-19 patients in need of ventilators. And that was all for tonight's regional news. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.